McCarthy mocked Biden's age and mental acuity in public while privately telling allies in private he found the president to be sharp and substantive. He called him very professional, very smart, very tough. And this same meeting, again, that the Wall Street Journal is basing this story on Kevin McCarthy's lies.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the Wall Street Journal destroying Joe Biden in a new article, which I will link to in the box. And the focus of the article is his age and ability to move around and walk and talk and chew gum and do anything that a person should be able to do, especially if they are the president of the USA. Now, the source that they're going to cite is Kevin McCarthy, the former Speaker of the House, former GOP rep. Well, I guess he will be the former GOP rep once he leaves office soon, but different story. I digress. Now, MS-13 DNC, they don't like that too much. They don't like that McCarthy is the source, and they think it's a hit piece and he's mentally tough and all this and that and the third. Although they're going to kind of, they're going to kind of like him and Hall talking about, oh, well, he's 81 years old. Trump isn't that much younger. He doesn't look the exact same as he did 15 years ago, but who does? I mean, all kind of ridiculous stuff. Obviously, Joe Biden is a few trees short of a forest, a few crayons short of an entire 64 count box, a few fries short of a Happy Meal. The guy's not all the way there. The lights are on, but anybody in the residence. We know what's going on. Anybody with a brain and a pair of eyes can see what's happening with this man. He is pretty much at the end. All right. Might as well put this man in a home somewhere and let him just eat applesauce for the rest of his days rather than being the president of the USA. Now, as I said, Trump is right there next to him as far as age. I think Trump was 77 or 78 years old compared to Joe Biden's 81. But those ages aren't the same, first of all, and there's a big gap in between their mental ability at this particular moment. When I see Donald Trump, I don't see some old, broke down, decrepit individual, but I do see that in Joe Biden. Now, before I go any further, let's get to the reaction from MS-13 DNC. And of course, I will link to everything in the box. I won't play the entire thing because of time purposes, but without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
After the meeting, that the meeting was, quote, the best yet. We're making progress, and I'm going to be talking to Joe Biden every day. Very professional, very smart, very tough. I don't even know what to say.
So I guess that's what Kevin McCarthy was saying about him to certain people, but then he would say something else in a different setting, I suppose.
I really don't even know what to say here.
Well, let's begin with the fact that Joe Biden is 81 years old. Donald Trump, by the way, will be 78 next week.
Let's read some of this right here. This is from The Hill. It says, soft food to good faith, how Biden and McCarthy came together on a debt deal. That's May 31st, 23. And then the pull quote says, very professional, very smart, very tough at the same time. McCarthy told reporters at the Capitol of his talks with Biden.
So he's not much younger. So, yes, does he move a little slower and speak a little softer than he did 15 years ago when he was vice president? As former Speaker McCarthy says in the piece. Sure does. Yeah. I think most 81-year-olds do, or most people are different than they were 15 years ago. This does have the feeling of Trump acolytes laundering their attacks through a reputable, prestigious news organization.
I mean, look, we don't need the Wall Street Journal or Kevin McCarthy or anyone like that to tell us what we can see with our own two eyes. All right. All they're doing is just confirming what we already know. Seriously, like, let's just keep that all the way real.
The Wall Street Journal. Also, the point about notes, as Richard Haas would tell you, presidents use notes in meetings. That's not unusual. They might have a sheet. They might have a card in front of them with some points that they want to make. I would also point out Donald Trump has a person who follows him with a printer to print things out for him so he can have hard copies so he can read his notes and facts and lies often that he rattles off. And then the other
facts and lies that he rattles off. See, MSNBC, a lot of these so-called news outlets, they're just mouthpieces of the Democratic Party. They are propaganda arms of the Democratic Party.
Other point to make is, will the Wall Street Journal have a piece about Donald Trump and his mental acuity. All you have to do is watch the 90 minutes of that Fox News interview over the weekend, and you could go through and do an entire series of articles on someone who doesn't seem to have it all together.
Okay, now if you want to do that, then we could talk about Joe Biden as well. But like I said, you can look at Trump and then look at Biden and compare and contrast without any kind of political bias, without anything like that going into it. Just look at them honestly, and you'll see who appears to be sharper than the other.
Mike Barnacle, you're very plugged into the White House. What's the early reaction to this piece?
He can't say it on the air. You just can't.
This guy about to be the same. He's looking like he's about the same age as Joe Biden. He don't even know what's going on. Are you awake, sir? Are you with us?
Can't say it on the air what their reaction is, actually. But, you know, I am sort of actually embarrassed for the Wall Street Journal with this piece. And there's one, at least to me and others, Richard, anyone who has spent any time at all, Joe, Mika, anybody who has spent any time at all with Joe Biden knows one thing about Joe Biden above all else. He's a talker. He's a talker.
Is he a talker? I mean, maybe he was a talker at a certain point in the past, but I've seen him out there speaking, quote unquote, speaking to reporters and in interviews and whatnot. He's barely able to string two words together coherently. Maybe he was a talker in his heyday, but no longer.
So here's the tell in this piece. With Ukraine running out of munitions, the White House called together top lawmakers to discuss what it would take to get congressional funding, along with the scope of border security changes demanded by Republicans. The president moved so slowly around the cabinet room to greet the nearly 24 congressional leaders that it took about 10 minutes for the meeting to begin, some people who attended recalled. 24 people around a table, and it took them 10 minutes to go around. I'm amazed it didn't take them an hour.
Nah, I mean, because, like, are you greeting everybody talking about how's your kids and how's your wife and how's your golf game? What's your score nowadays? What's your handicap? Like, what are we doing? Okay, you just going around shaking hands. Hello, how are you? Etc. It don't take that long. The reason why it took so long is because he probably was shuffling around like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons doing this jazz right here. And it took him a long time because it physically took him an extended period of time to go from point A to point B to point C to point D, etc., so on and so forth. That's why it took so long, sir. You know that, man. Why we got to play games like this? I don't understand.
Everyone he meets, he has 10 minutes to talk to them about. Everyone. So this was a classic hit piece, probably ordered up by the 93-year-old, fifth-time married Rupert Murdoch over the weekend. Probably, you know?
It's funny how it's so weird, man. The left, they're a funny bunch, very hypocritical. So you want to attack Rupert Murdoch for his age, but then when people attack Biden for his age, you want to start crying about it. I don't understand. If you're going to attack somebody for their age, and it should be, you know, it shouldn't just be one way. Let's let it go both ways. I'll attack you for your age, you attack me for my age, and it's fine. All fair.
No, but I mean, this piece is so tilted, so off the mark. Is he 81 years old? Yes. Is he a bit slower in terms of his reactions to some things? Probably. That I don't know. We don't know. I do know, Richard, and you've talked to people, I'm sure, who have been with him in national security meetings. I've been with people who have been with him in the Situation Room, where he literally goes around the globe on the chart in the Situation Room. I've never been in there, but electronically, and points out the weaknesses and the strengths of the United States relationships with each and every country that he's talking about, with no notes. With no notes. He's an 81-year-old president of the United States who gets up every day. He's got.
Look at this man's face, man. Like, look at his face. I mean, come on. Why we got to play games like this? Everybody knows what's going on with this man. Anybody on the street, just regular people, if you ask them about Joe, they'll say the same thing, that the guy's old. I mean, maybe at one point he was sharper, but those days are behind him. And it's at a certain point, it's okay to not be who you were in previous years, but it's not okay to be dishonest about it. And if you're not who you were in previous years, and that's becoming the problem with your leadership, maybe you shouldn't be the president. Just maybe.
Every day he's got to deal with Bibi Netanyahu in the morning, Ukraine, about 10 minutes later. His son is on trial. His son is an addict. It's on his mind all the time. This piece is
his son smokes cracks. His son smokes rocks. Hunter Biden.
Outrageous.
Yeah, but Mike, it's not that complicated. It's just not, we don't have to talk.
Look at who they quote.
We don't have to talk to anybody, Richard, but the person they quote, Kevin McCarthy, who is the source. Again, Kevin McCarthy, who is on a sort of a PR tour right now to clean up the fact, and Politico's written a story about this, the fact that he lies. The fact that he bounces back and forth. He's trying to go on basically a PR tour. But we don't have to ask world leaders, but please feel free to jump in. Let's just talk to the guy that was the source of this story and quoted. McCarthy mocked Biden's age and mental acuity in public while privately telling allies in private he found the president to be sharp and substantive. He called him very professional, very smart, very tough.
I mean, look, that's just being a politician at a certain point. Everybody does that. You're going to say certain things in front of certain people. You're not trying to start a conflict right there. But at a certain point, you're going to say something different depending upon the circumstance. That's just being the politician. At the end of the day, you all know what the truth is. Somebody can ask you about Joe Biden. This guy could fall on the ground, feet in the air, and you'll say something nice because of the situation. But everybody knows that you're just being nice. You're just being courteous for that moment. The reality is what he said and what we can all see, that this man is pretty much done. I'll play the rest of this. I'll leave the rest of this in the box so you can see it. It's about 4 more minutes or so left. But as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to Kevin McCarthy for, telling the truth. Shout out to everybody out there for looking at Joe Biden and listening to how he sounds and watching how he walks. Shout out to everybody for just being honest about what they see and what they hear. It's clear. We don't need anybody to tell us anything that we see with our own 2 eyes. It's pretty clear what's going on. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your take on what's going on with Kevin McCarthy and Joe Biden and the Wall Street Journal article? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. I mean, this is pretty much clear. It's pretty obvious. I mean, MSNBC, they're going to do whatever they can to try and minimize the damage from the Wall Street Journal article. That's what this was. It's damage control. They're trying to say, oh, well, yeah, he is 81. He is a little bit slower, but he's still tough and he's still a talker and he's still sharp and he doesn't need notes. Really? I've seen this man do the toddler diaper pose. I've seen this man talk in front of a podium and just link all the words together into one big incoherent glob of mess. This guy is not who he was many years ago. And many years ago, he was a moron who produced morons, including his crack-smoking son, Hunter. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.